Cage and his second season have finally arrived on Netflix. I recently took this last weekend and binged the hell out of it, like watched the entire thing from start to finish. I took some time to think about it, and now I'm finally ready to talk about it. It is the second Marvel Netflix show that has hit the internet this year. The other one was Jessica Jones and her second season, which came out a few months ago. Mike Colter returns, reprising his role as the title character of Luke Cage. You've got Alfre Woodard as Mariah Dillard, Theo Rossi as Shades. Once again, Rosario Dawson returns to reprise her role as Claire Temple, aka the Night Nurse. Simone Missick is back as Misty Knight. You've also got a newcomer, a new villain. Mustafa Shakir, I think is his name. He plays the villain Bushmaster in Season 2. It's going to be a spoiler-free review because I do respect and understand that not everybody has had a chance to watch the season. It literally just came out Friday, so I'm going to make this a spoiler-free review. Absolutely no spoilers. It's because I love you guys. It's because I love you. Let me get this complaint out of the way because I feel like this is a complaint that a lot of people have in regards to the Marvel Netflix shows. You know it's coming. You watch these shows. If you watch these shows, you know exactly what I'm about to talk about. Yes, the season is a little bit too long, and yes, there are some pacing issues. Season 2 of Luke Cage is no different from the other Marvel Netflix shows in that regard. How much the pacing of this season affects you really depends on how well you think the rest of the season is put together and how much it affects your enjoyment level whenever you watch these Marvel Netflix shows. I do feel like the filler episodes or the filler scenes in this season started to get a little bit repetitive after a while. There are endless scenes of characters that go to a building or go to an abandoned warehouse or go to an office space or something, and they just kind of wait around for shit to happen, and in the meantime, they have conversations that last almost an hour. While I understand the decision to do it this way, I do feel like after a while, it started to become rinse and repeat. Like, they would just go to these buildings, and then they would just kind of wait something out or wait around for shit to happen, and then in the meantime, let's just talk and take up an entire hour. Comparison to the first season, I feel like Season 2 is actually a little bit more balanced and a little bit more consistent. Season 1 felt much more like a crime drama than an action superhero series. Don't get me wrong, Season 2 is still a crime drama at its heart, but it feels much more balanced with action sequences. In fact, there are a lot more action sequences and fights scattered throughout the season. It feels a little bit more balanced in that way. And I also say the action sequences in general have received an uptick in quality compared to Season 1. Not that they were necessarily awful in Season 1, but it is what it is. One of the biggest reasons for the improved fight choreography and action sequences is Bushmaster. Having a villain that actually physically can go toe-to-toe with Luke Cage, a man who's bulletproof, well, that makes the fight scenes a little bit more interesting, at least the ones with those two. Now, Season 2 of Luke Cage actually kind of revolves around 3 major character arcs. The first one, of course, is Luke Cage, because, you know, it's his show. By the way, Luke Cage does say that in an episode in this season. It is the perfect moment to break the fourth wall. Deadpool would have been proud of Luke Cage in that moment. The other character arcs that this season revolves around is Mariah Dillard and Bushmaster, the new villain. As far as Luke Cage goes, Mike Colter once again absolutely crushes it in his role. He is Luke Cage to me. Like, he's everything that I've ever wanted to see from Luke Cage in live action. He's got it all, man. He's got the swag, he's got the charisma, he's got the badassery. He is the complete package. Pause. That sounded a little bit gay. The character of Luke Cage is also put through a lot more emotion this year, and you feel a little bit more pressure on his shoulders. He's become a celebrity superhero in Harlem. He has a new physical threat to deal with. Also, the reemergence of his father puts a little bit of stress on him. Mike Colter is forced to emote a little bit more than he did in Season 1, and I would say he more than holds his own in the emotional scenes. Bushmaster kind of takes the top billing as far as being the main villain of the season. Sorta. He's kind of the main villain. I'll get to that in a second. I gotta say, I think that you can add him to the list of really well done Marvel Netflix villains because I thought that he was captivating to watch. He definitely is physically intimidating, and he definitely feels like somebody who has enough menace that you could buy that he would be an actual threat to Luke Cage. Cage actually walks around the season feeling like he's kind of invincible, or actually looking like he's invincible when he goes up against regular guys with regular guns. So it's really refreshing to see a villain that can actually put him on his ass. And once you start to unravel the layers of Bushmaster, you start to get into the nuances of his character, and you start to discover the why of what he's doing, really do start to empathize with him a little bit more. You start to understand why he feels the way he feels. In fact, the way he feels and what he's doing in this season, it's actually kind of justified. He put me in the very rare position of, towards the end of the season, actually kind of rooting for him, which might say more about how messed up my mind is because he is a villain. He does do some pretty bad stuff during the season. Just saying, I can understand where he's coming from. In fact, if the situation were reversed, I don't know if anybody wouldn't be rooting for him as the hero of the show. Let's get one thing straight right now. If Bushmaster is kind of like the physical threat, the Darth Vader of Luke Cage, Mariah Dillard is definitely the Darth Sidious of this bitch. I fucking hate Mariah. I hate her. I cannot stand her. I hate her. I despise her on a molecular and cellular level. She is so despicable, so twisted, so demented, so depraved. Everything about Mariah in this season just screams pure evil. The word bitch is usually used as a term of disrespect towards women, and I know that the context can sometimes change depending on who you use it against and the relationship and stuff like that. I'm just gonna lay down a simple and hard truth for you guys. You ready for it? The word bitch was created for women just like Mariah. Don't get mad at me, I spit nothing but facts on this channel.
I'm a bitch, she's a big fat bitch, she's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. She's a stupid bitch, and everyone's a bitch, she's a bitch to all the boys and girls. On Monday she's a bitch, on Tuesday she's a bitch, and Wednesday to Saturday she's a bitch. Then on Sunday just to be different, she's a super king, Kamehameha, bitch.
I spent half the season rooting for a grizzly bear from like the Brooklyn Zoo or something to come find her and chew her shoulders off. I don't want him to kill her necessarily, I want him to chew on her shoulders and make her suffer a little bit. But then I want her to survive so that I can continue to go on hating her. She is basically the Charles Logan of season 2 of Luke Cage. Anybody who has watched 24 knows exactly what I'm talking about. Charles Logan is that weasel, bitch-made nigga that you just love to hate. You love to hate him, and you're going to love to hate Mariah Dillard, aka Black Mariah, because that's really what this season is about for her. It's about her transformation into Black Mariah. I also want to single out Simone Missick as Misty Knight. Once again, her fine ass graces us with her presence in season 2 of Luke Cage. Her character is actually kind of distracting at this point because whenever she does something, I kind of picture her naked. Whenever she says something, I have daydreams about her eating a strawberry or some shit. She will forever and permanently be certified as a member of the She Can Get It list, but I actually really like what they did with her character this season too. I'll be honest, through the first few episodes of the season, I actually felt more invested in her character arc than I did in Luke's. That's real shit. If you saw the ending of The Defenders, then you kind of know what happened to her. She got her arm cut off while she was trying to defend Colleen and Claire from Bakuda, and there's definitely an element of PTSD with her character this year as she struggles with adapting to life without her arm, but it's also about how she adapts to other people because she has to regain her confidence because everyone around her treats her differently because of this injury. One of the highlights of the season for me was the episode where Colleen Ween makes a cameo. She comes to Harlem, she helps Misty out a little bit, she works out with her, she trains with her, and she teaches her some stuff. Definitely see a new friendship blossoming between them, and then there is a really awesome tease for Daughters of the Dragon. I will not spoil that just in case you guys have not read the comics, but trust me, Daughters of the Dragon is coming, and it's going to be awesome. Also pretty interesting that that's one of my favorite episodes because my other favorite episode of the season involves Danny Rand, aka the Iron Fist, coming to Harlem and helping Luke out with some shit. They continue the bromance that we saw start to develop in The Defenders, and that's just kind of full-fledged friendship in this season. These two are the ultimate ass-kicking duo, and it just makes me hunger. It makes me thirsty for a Power Man and Iron Fist team up in the future. Also gotta say, I don't know who's been handling Danny Rand in The Defenders or in this show, but seriously, he is so much more likable as a character now. Also have to single out the music and the soundtrack. The music on Luke Cage, definitely, hands down, better than any of the other Marvel Netflix shows. For a hip-hop head like me, it was really cool to see people like Rakim, Jadakiss, Faith Evans, and KRS-One show up in this season, but really there's a lot of diversity with the soundtrack in this one. There's a lot of alternative sounding music, a lot of different genres. Once again, musically, they slay it. They kill it like they always do. Notice that I have gone through this entire review without actually mentioning Claire Temple, right? There's a reason for that, and unfortunately, guys, it's because Claire Temple actually isn't in this season that much. Claire Temple is one of the best things about the other Marvel Netflix shows, and I was really looking forward to seeing her continuing to develop in this season with Luke, but unfortunately, her role in this season is kind of reduced and diminished into being the nagging girlfriend that always argues with Luke about shit. While I do understand why she feels the way she feels about certain things, it was just kind of frustrating to see her sidelined like that. I would say that's the case for other supporting characters in the show. They feel diminished a little bit, and certain characters that you were hoping to see more of, you really don't see that much of them. Bobby from the barbershop, he's not in this season that much. The relationship between Luke and his father, that feels a little bit undercooked and underdeveloped. By the way, the actor that plays him, I do want to give a quick shout out. Rest in peace. He did pass away earlier this year. His name is Reg. I can't remember his last name, but he is a really good actor. I'm sorry I can't remember his entire name. Rest in peace. Maybe that's why he wasn't in as much of the season, because they could only shoot so many of his scenes. I actually don't know the production schedule for Luke Cage off the top of my head, so I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The biggest problem of Luke Cage Season 2 is Luke Cage himself. Luke Cage this season is not the same likable hero that he was in Season 1, and it was kind of jarring for me to see. Every episode that Luke Cage does something Luke Cage-like, where he's being a hero, there are also plenty of episodes where I'm just sitting there like, dude, do you have to be a bulletproof dick right now? Halfway through the season, I just gave up and I started calling him Luke the Douche for the rest of the season. That's what he is. He's Luke the Douche. I understand and I get changing a character or changing the situation around a character to make them act differently if it's leading to a place of enlightenment and great character development and a great arc that comes full circle. I didn't really feel that's what happened with Luke Cage. I feel like he was kind of unlikable for unlikable sake because I didn't really feel a whole lot of change or growth in his character by the end. Speaking of that ending, as a Luke Cage fan, I don't really know how I feel about it. They take some liberties, they take some risks, and they put Luke Cage in a different position than you would expect to see him in. One good thing I can say about it is that it does kind of tease an interesting future for Luke Cage, and so I'd be interested to see how this turns out. But in terms of this season as it stands right now, I gotta be honest, it made me uncomfortable watching it, and I didn't really like it. But then again, I wasn't comfortable watching Luke Cage for most of the season. He was just Luke the Douche. After thinking about it for a little bit though, I have to say, season 2 of Luke Cage, I think it ups the ante, and I actually think it's an improvement on the first season. Still doesn't touch Daredevil, but then again, what Marvel Netflix show these days does touch Daredevil, right? Pop out that new TV rating system. Luke Cage season 2 is gonna get a 4 out of 5 supers from me. So if you have seen season 2 of Luke Cage, tell me what your favorite new Marvel Netflix show is. I'm actually asking this because I want to see if anybody's going to have the balls to say Iron Fist in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.